Today on AfriPlus News Channel, a deep political storm is unfolding in Senegal. What many believed was one of Africa's strongest political partnerships is now showing visible cracks. President Bassirou Diomaye Faye and his Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko, once celebrated as united reformists, are now at the center of a growing political Cold War. Reports from credible local and international sources reveal a dramatic struggle for power, influence, and legitimacy inside the heart of Senegal's leadership. This development has raised serious questions about the stability of the country's reform agenda and the future of their political movement. Before we go deeper into this unfolding situation, viewers are encouraged to like, share, and subscribe to AfriPlus News Channel for consistent and important updates. At the core of this rising tension is President Faye's controversial decision to appoint a new coordinator for the presidential coalition. This move was made without the approval of Prime Minister Sonko or his political allies, sparking widespread debate across Senegal. The replacement of Aïssatou Mbodj with Aminata Touré has been described by analysts as a direct challenge to Sonko's influence within the coalition. This raises critical questions about the balance of power between the presidency and the political movement that brought Faye to office.
Guys, pay attention. There is a serious political power tussle going on in Senegal between the current president, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, and Ousmane Sonko, his prime minister. And remember, for those who had been following them way back in 2023-2024, Ousmane Sonko is the leader of the PASTEF party. If you understand that, let's get into the details. So, the other day, the president, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, fired Ousmane Sonko's ally from the PASTEF party. Her name is Aïssatou Mbodj, and replaced her with his own préféré. That is the president's préféré. Her name is Aminata Touré. And this move did not please the prime minister at all, because he is the leader of the PASTEF party, where the president is his subordinate when it comes to party issues. I don't know if you guys are connecting the dots. And this has created a whole lot of political turmoil within the PASTEF party and its coalition. Now, there is something I'm going to explain here. If you guys have been following me really well, or those who just came on board, way back I had been complaining when the president of Senegal started traveling to Paris. When he started getting in bed with Emmanuel Macron, I knew that something was going to happen. You know why? Because when these Western powers discover that you guys are having a good bond and that there is a promising future, especially when they see that you guys have plans to cut off from them, to cut off the new colonial link, the imperialistic link, trust me, they are going to do everything possible to sow division amongst you. And that is what has been done. Initially, for those who know the vision of the PASTEF party, their vision was to grant Senegal autonomy, to grant Senegal sovereignty. But when Ousmane Sonko was arrested and locked up and he could not go in for presidency, he decided to recommend his friend, who was the Secretary General of the PASTEF party, that is the current president today. The real president of Senegal was supposed to be Ousmane Sonko, but because he was locked up and he had charges cropped up against him, he could not run for presidency. He asked Bassirou Diomaye Faye to go in for presidency and he would support him. And that is how Bassirou Diomaye Faye became president of Senegal. And because of their vision, Ousmane Sonko's vision to grant Senegal total freedom, total liberation from the French imperialistic powers, France has decided to use their constant invitation of President Bassirou Diomaye Faye to Paris to cause confusion amongst the two of them. That is how Paris has functioned. That is how these neo-colonialists, these Western forces have always functioned. When they see that Africa, when they see that a country, when they see that individuals are united, are bonded, are together, they would always find ways to create division, to sow discord, to create chaos. And when there is chaos, there's going to be factions. Those who would take the side of the president, those who would take the side of the prime minister, and that gives a perfect way for the colonialists to reign. Oh, Africa. I said this thing when Bassirou started traveling to France, started being so acquainted with France. I said it. This was going to happen. Look at even the military bases that they had to completely evacuate from Senegal. It has not really been done. A couple of bases were taken out, but trust me, the military cooperation, he openly said that they still have military cooperation when he traveled to France. He clearly told us that France and Senegal still have military cooperation. And now, President Ousmane Sonko cannot really do anything because he is not the president of the republic. He is just a prime minister. When it comes to public office, he is under the president. And France deals with the president and not the prime minister. So the prime minister is powerless. And that is how they are using to crack him up and cause complete fragility in the political landscape of Senegal so that they would continue to reign. With that said, please, if there is a Senegalese or someone here who can transmit this message to Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko, he has to be very careful. He has to be very careful. If he is not careful, they would knock his life down. They would take him down. Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko has to be very, very careful with his life. Why? Because they know that he still has the chances to become president tomorrow. It's either they try to deal with his life or they would find ways to crop up charges against him so that he would not be president in the next coming presidential elections. Mr. Sonko has to be very careful. Senegalese, open your eyes and see the manipulations that these Western powers are doing, are carrying out against your country, against you people. Because the goal here is to continue to keep you Senegalese in captivity. Wake up and fight for your country before it is too late. I believe in Senegalese, and I believe that you would know who is on the right side of history. Guys, let me know what you think in the comment section.
Is this the beginning of an internal leadership battle? And how might this affect Senegal's political future? This appointment has not only shocked political observers, but has also triggered fierce resistance from Sonko's party, PASTEF. Senior members of the party immediately rejected the president's decision, calling it illegal and arguing that coalition leadership cannot be changed unilaterally. Their public condemnation signals a widening rift within the ruling structure. If the president's allies insist on defending this appointment, could Senegal be heading toward an internal confrontation that might threaten the unity of the coalition? And what does this say about the fragility of political partnerships formed through shared struggles? Detailed reporting suggests that this disagreement is not simply about a position. It reflects a much deeper struggle over who truly guides the direction of Senegal's reforms. Sonko, the founder of the movement that brought Faye to power, has often been viewed as the ideological force behind the government's popular agenda. Faye, now holding executive authority, appears increasingly determined to define his own leadership path. Analysts believe this could represent a defining moment for Senegal's political landscape. Will the president continue asserting independence, even if it risks alienating his strongest political ally? And how long can two powerful figures operate with conflicting visions?
The life of the current Prime Minister of Senegal, Ousmane Sonko, is under threat by the current President of Senegal, President Faye. This Prime Minister was supposed to be the President of Senegal instead of Faye. But because there were allegations of crimes against him, he couldn't contest for the presidential election. And then he suggested his friend, which was Faye at that time, to become the president. And that's how he won the elections. The plan from the onset was that if Ousmane Sonko came to power, he will cut ties with France and other imperialistic powers so that Senegal will become as autonomous as the other 3 Sahel states. But when President Faye came to power, at first he was giving Africans the hope that he's going to make Senegal as free and liberated like the Sahel countries. That was why Africans were supporting him and believing that he was going to rescue Senegal. But as time went on, he began to deepen ties with France. President Macron was inviting him to France to have meetings with him. They were taking tea together. And it started looking like he was derailing from the initial part that he promised the Senegalese people. And this is making the Prime Minister as well as his supporters very angry, because this was not their plan. They want to be cut off from every imperialistic powers. They want to be sovereign. They want to be independent. But this current president of Senegal is deepening ties with France and making them more dependent. So there's a clash of interest right now. A lot of people in Senegal are complaining about this move that is being made by their current president. Because you tell me, is it that he does not know history? Or he's not watching the Sahel countries? What made them to pursue France from their country? Are you telling me he does not know that France are leeches, they are imperialists, they were only in the Sahel region for their resources? But this man does not care. He's still relating with France. And the Prime Minister is not having this. And it really looks like in the next upcoming election, this Ousmane Sonko is going to contest for presidency and he's going to win. There might still be crimes that will be labeled against him so that he will not be able to contest for that election. Because France love the current president that is there. He's making room for them to exploit their country. He's making room for them to come back into their country and establish just the way they did in the Sahel. This is a serious threat to the life of this Prime Minister at this moment. Because anything that will mess with foreign interest is always a threat to them. So they will not want any threats to their interest in any way. That's why they will want to come for this Prime Minister now or later. Share and repost this video so that every African will be aware of what is happening in Senegal, and they will watch out for Ousmane Sonko to ensure that nothing is going to happen to him before the next presidential election. These foreigners cannot be trusted, and anybody that is relating with a foreigner that has been banished from other African countries cannot be trusted. So the president of Senegal cannot be trusted at all. We need to keep our eyes on him and the remaining leaders that are like him in Africa. And Ousmane Sonko, please be very, very careful. Be very, very careful with that president. He's no longer the man you used to know. Remember to take your safety and security into your own hands by going to Play Store today and downloading Echo, the #1 app that is assured of keeping you and your community safe and alert at all times. Also, follow our Telegram channel at Awakening Afro Consciousness to get the latest update on everything that's happening all over the world, especially Africa, and so that you can see how the military in the Sahel are taking out these terrorists from their region on a daily basis.
In conclusion, the unfolding political tension in Senegal reveals a complex battle for authority, influence, and control within the ruling structure. The disagreement over coalition leadership is not just an administrative conflict, but a symbolic representation of deeper ideological and strategic divisions. Viewers are encouraged to share their thoughts respectfully in the comment section. Could this Cold War reshape the political trajectory of Senegal? Is this simply a temporary disagreement, or the beginning of a much larger political shift? Your opinions help us understand how different observers interpret this situation, and we value every perspective shared. Viewers who appreciate our work can support AfriPlus News Channel by joining our channel membership and sending a super thanks to help us continue producing detailed and reliable analysis. Disclaimer: this analysis is based on publicly available information, credible reporting, and political commentary. It does not support or promote violence, misinformation, or harmful narratives. All viewers are encouraged to verify information independently and engage respectfully in discussions.